Bros Play!
Welcome back to Oopling.
We are the Oopsons.
So Derek thinks that I was mistaken,
Hey man, I'm just asking questions.
and I want him to know that he is not mistaken. I'm gonna go with this guy because video games and YouTube in general does not represent the brown-skinned people well enough, you know?
Just trying to bring representation to the community.
They also probably don't like brown-skinned people, or maybe they do. Yeah, see, this is just 1 to 4.
Yeah, that's a huge shortcut.
Oh, this is 1-4.
1-4, exactly.
Wow. I was so...
Derek's such an idiot. He thinks there's a faster way to do this.
I was so... focused. I was so...
Just calm down.
I was so into being right, or certain that I was right, that even when I was wrong, I'm like, see? What am I? Some sort of political person on a split screen TV show yelling?
Yeah, you might as well be a pundit.
I really appreciate how how news is people yelling at each other and nobody getting anywhere. That's not really news, because that's actually the oldest thing in the book.
Well, and just the idea of, oh, okay, so we're going to have two different experts on, experts, people who spent 10,000 hours studying a thing, and then we're going to have them talk for 4 minutes. Each of them will get about 2 if they're, really aggressive, and hopefully we will learn the truth from that.
And that's the thing, they're not after the truth. That's the problem. And it's a cycle, and you're part of it. You suck. You should feel bad.
You're talking to me, right?
Everyone.
Not the listener?
Everyone. Both.
Back up.
You're all part of it, including me. I'm just ahead of you on feeling bad about it.
That's something I actually came around to the realization of this year. I remember thinking, people should have behaved this way. People should have done this or that. And then I realized, me included,
yeah.
None of us are without blame in all of this nonsense.
Yeah,
right?
But other people are more to blame than me. I mean, come on.
Well, correct.
I mean, have you met me?
Goes without saying.
I mean, come on. Monty!
Come on.
Monty.
What's interesting about this guy is his hearts are the right color. Because that chick's hearts are yellow. And this guy's are red.
Yeah, they're all like that.
Yeah, so his are the right color. They're supposed to be red.
I just thought you were making some sort of racist thing.
Yes, I made a racism.
And
let's
be clear. I love racism. It's one of the greatest equalizers because we all suck, but in our own way.
you just love hate,
and
it's all about hate.
I don't hate anyone. Wow, I do love whoever gave me this turkey.
Wow,
but. I don't hate anybody, but I love how committed we are to hating each other.
I can see that.
It's truly incredible. I mean, most people... Oh
boy.
Most people say things like, "Oh, I would give anything to draw that way," and then they get and then they die in a spider web, and. And then they get an easel for Christmas, and they don't even set it up until March. People, they're so focused on fantasy.
Well, what they mean is I would do anything in the sense of what would you do for a Klondike bar, right? I would be willing to give up my firstborn. I would be willing to kill someone. They don't mean I'd be willing to put in hard work.
Right.
Come on, that's just foolish. Hard work is for fools.
You could say we're in one here, Monty.
It's a bad situation. I think it's going the other direction, but this is not going to help.
Old Grenkel is twerking up there on the...
Your Grenkel does a lot of really inappropriate things.
Look at him! He's just going to town!
He's vibrating. Yeah, I don't think you're getting out of here. Well, that's one way to get out.
All right, who else is less represented in media? Definitely, wow, brown women?
I think she's black. I'm just gonna say.
She's also one-eyed, so she's like a triple whammy. On
Pirates. That's who's not well represented.
Brown women pirates are like, that's like the quadruple diversity hire. Jeez, I should be a consultant because I know how to convince people that they should listen to me even when they shouldn't.
Yeah, you no specific thing. You just want to consult.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever the topic is.
Call me up. Because sometimes what you need is a brand new perspective, right?
Sometimes, yeah, fresh set of eyes for sure. I would say it's actually not needed as much as people think it's needed, but yes, sometimes you do need a fresh set of eyes.
Right.
I just always love the idea that's like, well, we need a diversity of ideas. And by that I mean we need all the same ideas from diverse-looking people. Like that's
a very interesting way to go about it. I really liked how look at this.
How the hell are you supposed to get that guy? That was a good throw. Damn.
That's how you're supposed to do it.
There you go.
When Ryan Reynolds was doing the press for Free Guy, somebody said they described the film, and he's like, it's also the only new IP in like 200 years in film, but whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. You know, they're not making fresh ideas because they have all this old shit that they're just going over.
And the disappointing thing is that there is so much creativity in the world. It's just not being focused on.
No one wants to pay people who come up with actual ideas.
Right.
Is the weirdest thing. You know, like oh wow, how the hell were you ever supposed to get that?
That's the thing. It's like, just don't.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing about the procedural generation I'm maybe not super crazy about, is that some sections are literally impossible.
Yes.
And I guess it's a bait, right? It's like, you want to try it?
I am always going to prefer hand designed things, but can appreciate the time saving because I think one or two people made this, so it just wasn't going to happen being hand designed.
It's amazing. It really is.
And in the time that it took Toby Fox to make one game, which was Undertale, this guy's made like 3. Because he made the original Spelunky Classic, Spelunky 2. Oh, I'm just short. Oh, we haven't. I grabbed the key.
Yep.
Grab the key. Anyway, he made 3 games at least, plus some other interesting ones I think that he was working on. But Toby Fox designed Undertale down to every frame, wrote all 70-something tracks himself, and it took him like 10 plus years.
Yeah, which you wonder. It's awesome. It's obviously awesome, but if he had either brought in other people or done it differently, could he have gotten more done? Right, different games.
My argument would be, that's great if it's gonna be Undertale, a game that was just monumentally successful. It became memes.
I actually like that one,
versus
the weird jungle traps that are just absolutely impossible to get out of.
Yeah. But the problem is not every game you spend 10 years on is going to be that successful. So I watched a video of this guy. He had acquired the rights for a book series that he was a fan of, and he was recreating, or maybe he made it himself. I think he recreated it. And it took him 10 plus years, and he was really happy. Yay! And he was really happy. But he said, I probably only have 20 or 30 years left of my creative time in my life, and I'd like to make more than 3 more books, right?
Right.
So I have to figure out a better way to make stuff, and I don't remember what he ended up saying. I can't believe I made that, and then I didn't make that. This is a fun game. I like this. What an experience.
It is an incredibly grueling game.
I hope that it's interesting to watch. I do remember enjoying our last Spelunky series enough that I was like, more. but I also didn't want to do this to myself.
Well, that's too bad, because I think this is just one of the more dynamic games that we brought to the channel.
That's a weird description. That's like oh, Grango.
Rough.
That's like how a game developer would describe their own game. Like this one's just more dynamic.
That's the problem with jargon words like that, is that they have real meanings, but people use them in really stupid ways. Like, for example, this game is dynamic, which is good, but the reason that we're playing is because it's fun. That's what matters, right?
Yeah.
Whereas someone will say, oh yeah, this game is super dynamic and beautiful, but that doesn't matter. You know what's not dynamic or beautiful? Fucking chess, and people play that shit all the time. Right?
That's my problem with the games industry, is that gameplay is not first. So it's actually a big deal for Nintendo to say something like, we put play first. And that's because
it shouldn't be a big deal.
That
but
is
yeah.
a big deal, because it's not the truth about every developer. A lot of them put the idea for the background, the idea for the story first, right?
Yeah, it seems like they put sellability above playability.
Absolutely.
Right?
I said a long time ago, screenshots sell games, because you can get the highest fidelity out of a 4K image if the game doesn't run at an appropriate game frame rate.
Right.
And now the new strategy, which I do appreciate, is get in there. The new strategy, or the new standard, is
Oh god, it's so brutal.
got snapped.
I was gonna say it was over 9,000, but it wasn't.
Got snapped. Anyway, the new strategy is 60 FPS prioritized frame rate is what they call it, or prioritized resolution, which is 4K, and usually 30 FPS. And that's great, because people get to choose between playing the game and looking at it. But, you know, at least there's a choice. There's the opportunity for the player to say, I like dem graphics, and don't care if I get dizzy. And then there's other people who are like, I want to play the game.
I think for me, there's a parallel between the movies, where I think most games are very much like Disney or Marvel films, which I guess are also Disney films now, where they are, you know, mass market appeal. They're designed to be highly sellable, so they're pretty, and they've got quote unquote exciting gameplay ideas. And then there's the Quentin Tarantino films, which are not really very pretty or marketable in a lot of ways. Like they're very rough around the edges. They're not mass market appeal, but they are so great, at least for the fans that enjoy them, that there's like a serious following, right? Where people are waiting for the next Quentin Tarantino film.
Yeah, and that ends up being From Software.
As I was actually just going to mention that, you know, you're always excited about a Souls game.
Yeah.
And that's fairly rare in the game industry. It feels like companies have this 10-year window when they first start, and then after that, they're destined to become EA. Right?
Yeah, I mean, especially with the way, I forget who, like, there's a bunch of like 2022 was like has become the acquisition year, where companies are just getting gobbled up by other companies, and it's just getting weirder and weirder, where it's like Blizzard and Activision, or one of them bought the other one, and they became Blizzard Activision, or Activision Blizzard, sorry.
Yeah.
But then they were just bought by somebody else, so now it's even bigger. So it's just becoming this like top-heavy skyscraper that everyone's impressed by how tall it can be, and I'm like, you see how much it's swinging though?
Well, you remind me, what was the joke from BoJack? What was that company called?
Oh, I couldn't even remember that.
It was like Coke, Johnson & Johnson's, Trader Joe's. Yeah. It was obviously just a bunch of things mashed together, but it didn't actually sound that unreasonable.
There was something I was trying to think of the other day that was so appropriate for how things have gone. I wish I could remember it, which is a great... I mean, if you can't tell a joke, just tell people that you had a joke.
That there was a joke. Yeah, you had to be there.
They'll think it was just as funny. That's my favorite comedian is that guy who tells you he had jokes
But forgot them before he made it to the show.
didn't bring them. That's like an Andy Kaufman fucking thing. Just like shows up and he has no jokes, and everyone's like, ha ha ha, and he's like, no, like, that's it.
Pulls out a piece of yellow paper from a legal pad, starts like
He's like,
reading.
Does anybody have any ideas?
Can I get some ideas from the audience? Anyone want to shout out a location?
He's perfect. I love Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman, yeah.
Why
he's
did I go for
brilliant.
that and get out with unscathed? And then I killed. I wish I could remember that guy's name. That would have been a funny joke. Speaking of jokes, I was making the parallel that he was Indiana Jones's guy that betrays him in the first one.
In the first one?
Yeah, I think it's the first one. Maybe it was the second one. But he gets betrayed by his guide, just leaves him behind, and then Indy gets out, and he finds him, and he finds them all stabbed.
Yeah,
and that's the guy who plays Otto Octavius in the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans.
No way.
Or I should say, I'm pretty sure he's reprising his role in the Tom Holland one.
Really?
Yeah, because he.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I haven't seen it yet, but
I'm
sure. Yeah, I'm sure it's like some time loop stuff, some like different dimension stuff.
Oh, okay.
Because the trailer has him showing up saying like, "Hello, Peter," so it's like he knows him, but maybe he's not the Peter he knows.
You know, that reminds me of a question that I have. I read somewhere that apparently the new Batman film they're making,
the Batman, is
supposed to be a standalone film.
Oh,
and I don't know if that's supposed to mean that it's, you know, separate from the ones that have been made before, or if it means it won't have a sequel.
I would guess both.
Seems odd, though, to limit yourself from having a sequel before you've even released the first one.
Well, it would have been nice if Nolan did that after the second one.
Yeah.
Because the third was not good Nolan material.
No, sure. The Dark Knight Rises was certainly a miss.
It had a lot of good stuff, and I think Bane was quite well done.
It was from an acting boring, man.
But it had a lot of boring moments. It had a lot of weird pacing issues. A complaint I got from a lot of people, or I heard from more than one person, is that Brucey like ends up in one place in a ridiculously short amount of time, and it's just not that well conveyed. I thought that guy was chasing me, but it's Grenkel holding him.
He's holding his body.
Like he goes from wherever he is being held captive to just being in Gotham, and it's just not implied strongly enough that a lot of time passed, because it's winter when he shows up. So like it just wasn't conveyed correctly. So people just think like it was just a convenient thing for them to do with the story, even though they did write it in there. There was just too much in the movie, and not enough was focused on hard enough.
Well, I do think that that's something that I don't think it's gotten worse. I think this always happened in films, but I think that the quality level of films has been rising, and so we need to be better at this particular aspect, which is the reasonable believability of certain things. Like, for example, in the first Wonder Woman movie, they have to like take this boat from one place in Europe to another place in Europe in a certain period of time.
Yeah.
And people were just immediately going, well, you couldn't do that. Like, everyone would be dead when they got there. Right? And so that kind of stuff is not like the end of the world, but when you're making these $70 million movies.
Sorry.
Oh boy. Look at that professionalism, brother.
I know.
Turn that shit off.
People don't call me.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Not normally. But there are a lot of aspects like that where you just think that, even in Batman, he's supposed to take that bomb in The Dark Knight Rises, and he flies it like a kilometer off coast.
Yeah, not far.
Do you know what would happen if someone detonated a nuclear device right off the coastline of a city?
Yeah.
Right? It would not be fine.
Well, the initial thing would be that wave, like the wave of water.
That's I didn't even think about the tidal wave.
Followed by a sonic boom that would leave glass companies in a very high demand.
Yeah, and then people would be irradiated to shit, and so would the food supply. And yeah, so just stuff like that where you think, come on, guys, you're making this gigantic film, and nobody really thought about, some of these basic ideas.
There's also weird casting decisions. Like a smart casting move is considering the pull. Oh my god,
this is a nightmare.
Is considering the pull of that actor in that role. So like a common thing would be like, I don't want Johnny Depp in my indie film about a down to earth guy, because everyone's gonna see the actor and not the person. As good a character actor as he is, it's like his energy or his existing fame is going to pull away from the movie. The whole purpose is that this is a nobody, and I can't convince you that he's a nobody, right?
If he's Johnny Depp, yeah.
So there was one moment that always gets me in Dark Knight Rises where they're trying to get off the island. Joseph Gordon-Levitt there is trying to get off the bridge, and fucking Joey fucking Quinn is the police officer on the other side telling them they have to stay there.
Joey Quinn
from Dexter.
Oh, that's right. He is in that.
It's like a cameo, but at a moment where you just don't want a cameo. That's what it felt like to me.
Right.
It was awkward. It was just a weird decision because he's got a face that was on a TV show for 8 seasons, right? Or well, he was only in the show for a little bit. Thank you, Parachute. I don't think I needed you, but I'm glad you were there for me.
You only get one, don't you?
Yeah. It's like Spider-Man. Everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one.
Tell it, Peter. What does this cost? What does that cost? What does this cost?
A web gun.
I've got no monies. That's money, though. Give me that money. Fucking, why did I do that? I am exhausting myself here. I'm tilting myself.
You getting tilted, bro?
I'm getting tilted.
Getting tilted.
I'm straight tilted towers over here, buddy.
Man, I actually really miss playing competitive games. Because I used to play League of Legends a lot, and even before that, played a lot of Call of Duty, and there's something about having that actual, like, head-to-head competition with another person.
Mm-hmm.
There is an aspect where, you play a video game and you just have to beat the enemies, that's all you can do, but when you're playing competitive, you can just psychologically screw with people, and it's an effective strategy.
I played Rainbow Six Siege for longer than any other multiplayer game I played, relative to that time or before.
Right.
Because it had so much in it. There were so many metas and design choices and...
Now, if I can complain about esports for a minute here, I think one of my biggest issues with it is that they do too much to try and keep people interested. I love... What? What, is that not a reasonable point?
No, sorry, continue your point.
It just seems to me like when you look at the most popular games we've ever had, hockey, basketball, football, soccer, fill in the blank, all of them have very consistent rule sets that maybe have a change every 5 to 10 years when there are issues that we note with, the fuck just happened down there?
Lots.
Don't go in that store. Jesus.
I'm actually quite attracted to it now.
Yeah, because now there's going to be...
I don't think I can get past this.
No, not without screwing it up. So I wish that an esports game would be committed to the idea of saying, this is our 20 characters. We might tweak them, but this is the 20 characters, so that it's not like League of Legends or like Dota, a lot of these other games where you feel like after a while, if let's say you take 3 years and you don't watch and then you come back, the game isn't even the same. Same with Siege.
That is a very interesting point, because I certainly felt like Siege improved its major issues. Fuck your golden mother's ass.
This boss is totally different from the last boss. Like, just in the... Wow.
I didn't try. I was just letting it happen. This is attrition. Oh, sorry, what were you saying?
I wish there was a game that was willing to say, this is how our game plays. We're going to tweak it a tiny bit, but ultimately, these are the characters, these are their moves, this is what they look like, right? So that... Oh, man.
I thought that thing spun when I grabbed it.
Oh, like it would drop you?
I thought that's how it worked, but it's not how it worked. See, I think it's really interesting because, there's, I've lost my train of thought. It's very difficult to get people to be into something for an extended period of time, like 3 years in one game. So it's cool when you're able to do it, but it seems like for as good as that experience is the strength of the criticism afterwards. Because Siege was like dead in the water the second it was greenlit. You can tell a game is good because you can tell Ubisoft doesn't think a game will be successful if it's really good. And it's really bad if they believe it will be successful, because successful games are not the same as well-developed games. You know what I'm talking about?
Sort of, yeah. Yeah,
so
I see what you're saying.
So, like, Assassin's Creed that has a yearly annual release thing where every game is slightly iterative from the last one and has, like, 1 billion hours to play and only, like, 6 of the hours were actually worth mentioning, is something they feel is successful, and they're going to put their microtransactions into it and all that fun stuff, right? But Siege was a game they just didn't expect anything from, so they said, fine, do whatever you want. And they're like, okay, well, we'll make a really good game. And so it was basically dead in the water from the time it was greenlit, and then it came out, and people just fucking panned it. And there was a small subset of people that said, no, this is a really good game, and I really like it, and I want them to improve it. And like 2 years in, it was at its highest player rating, or number of players. It was incredibly successful because they put the effort into making it really fun and interesting and balanced, and it had a really good core of characters, and they only made 8 new ones a year, which is still kind of not sustainable.
That's a lot.
But
and that's my issue, is all the new characters, they're very exciting, they get more interest, I get all of that, but my issue is that I feel they totally fundamentally change the way the game is played, right?
Okay, we'll be back with stuff.
Hopefully less being crushed.